So what is the worst thing that happens? It doesn't work out, but at least you tried something new. You explored something new that may just be amazing. And you don't know because you didn't try it out, because you want to stay in that negative field.
Hi, and welcome to Don't Drink to Feed podcast. This podcast is all about you and all the courageous, driven women like you. We are here to inspire, to empower, to share, and to embrace one another. We will be talking with women from different backgrounds and careers about love, family, friendship, their wins and falls, and what it took for them to live the life they love. I am your host, Claudia Noriega-Bernstein, and I am so happy you're here today. Hi, everyone. I'm very excited today to have Heike Yates here. It took me a little bit to learn the name, but I think I nailed it. And she is a midlife fitness expert, but don't even think we're going to talk about working out, because that's not what we're going to talk about today. She specializes in working with women that are in the middle of their life, their midlife crisis. They are going through a lot. And if you're a young girl that are listening to this episode, you might want to learn a couple of things, because you might not be having a midnight crisis right now. But if you don't have the tools, that's exactly where you're going to land. So welcome. I'm so happy you're here, and let's start chatting.
Claudia, it's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me on the show.
You're very welcome. So tell me a little bit about yourself. I know you were a single mom. I know that you were trying to meet and figure it out what you were going to do with your life. And me being in your shoes, because I was a single mom of 3, I know that we have to get very creative to try to figure out what are we going to do. At the same time, spending time with our girls. You have daughters too, or just...
I have a son and a daughter.
Son and a daughter. Okay. And so you're trying to balance life while you're trying to make it. So share with my audience a little bit about yourself, and we're going to dig in what you do and how we do it.
When you talk about the younger generation, I'm 64 and will be 65 this year. And you asked me the questions back then, what happened? And I remember so clearly when I was 24, I moved from Germany to the United States. And I was on an adventure. It was leaving Germany, leaving all the rigidness behind, and just adventure. And I've always wanted to move to the States to stay longer than 6 weeks, or the minimum time that you can stay in the States here. And I said, I want to live here. I want to learn English well, and I want to explore all these things that everybody talks about, the canyons and all these wonderful things. And so I got a job with the German Foreign Service, which landed me in Washington, D.C. I enjoyed everything. I traveled everywhere. I drove with my car all over the United States and explored and met people and learned English. And of course, along the way, in my first year of excitement and travel and freedom, I met my first husband. And we connected. We had our first son, and then 3 years later, my daughter. But I felt, the freedom that I still feel at my age has traveled with me through all those years, that I want to explore. I want to be curious. I want to find new things. And when, unfortunately, we divorced, that freedom had us stop. I couldn't go anywhere because I made $300 at that point. I mean, that's what now? What's he, over 20 years ago? And, if you say, okay, in today's dollars, it may be 600, but it was not a lot. It was not a lot of money to put food on the table for 2 kids, pay for car payments, buy clothes for the kids, and the whole thing that goes with being a single mom. And fortunately, eventually I got alimonies and child support, so that helped a lot. But it was quite a while until that money rolled in, and we were pretty poor and really had to make sure that we had, at least for them, food and clothes and things to go to the school. And that's how I came to the States. And being that single mom, you have to be curious. You have to be inventive, as you know from your own experience. And you cannot give up.
Absolutely not. And the kids, for me at least, were my fuel. Now that I am older, I don't need an external fuel. I fuel myself, because I know myself and I look for my abundance within. But when I was a single mom, exactly like you, I was looking at those girls and say, I have to do it for them. I don't care how tired I am. I don't care how overwhelmed I am. I'm going to figure this out. And while I'm figuring this out, I'm going to have to make it fun so they don't have trauma responses when they are my age.
Very true. Very true. And you know, my son now, who is a dad himself of two kids, he says, Mom, I don't know how you did it.
Oh my God, I get that so many times from my girls.
They're fussing now because they have daycare and they have this and that and the other. And he's like, Mom, you had $300. You still fed us. We still had a great time. We always had game night. We didn't go on vacation because there was no money for that.
Right,
But
we
it
go
was,
creative, right? We're gonna make a picnic. Okay, great. It's because I can't pay for a restaurant. So we're gonna get a $1 meal and we're gonna go to the park and that's a picnic. And
yep,
that's that.
yep.
Yeah. It's crazy how resilient we are. And then when we remember that version of ourselves, at least I sometimes am surprised. Like, how did she do it? How was she able to do all the things that she did? And then I got to remember that that version of me is still in me. So I'm still capable to achieve so many things. But when we are young, even though we have a lot of things in our plate, we figure it out and we keep on going. And as I was saying, as we get older, we forget our capability. We forget what we are made of. We forget that we are really capable to achieve anything we want, and we start getting overwhelmed. But oftentimes, like I was telling you before, I get clients that I already underwater. They're already about to leave their husband, quit their job, throw the towel. So you and I have that in common. We work with women that are in the fork in the road. They don't know what direction to go. But one thing that I was very curious to talk about with you was the symptoms or the signs that come before that overwhelm. Can you talk a little more about that?
We tend to, at least from my point of view, we tend to cover this up with being busy. We're just busy, busy, busy all the time. So we don't feel like we're overwhelmed. We don't feel like that something is not right. And we won't admit to ourselves, maybe because we can't afford it at that point, to say that there is something I need to change because we don't have the capacity to do that. And so when I think about really getting to the point of overwhelm, you keep busy, you run around, you take on more things than you humanly possibly can handle, and you may feel grumpy a lot because you're not happy on the inside and you feel so overwhelmed, you feel so full of other stuff and you have no capacity to dig through what's happening. Maybe you don't even have the guts to do that.
Yeah, because in the surface, you look good. You put yourself together and you keep on going. But I think the disconnection happens inside. The disconnection is what is giving us that sense of there has to be something more. This cannot be it.
Yeah, and that feeling almost of desperation, it's really sitting in your gut. And I felt this when I started branching out in the fitness industry. And I had this nagging feeling that I did not for the rest of my life wanted to be a manager at a fitness club, be there doing more personal training, making more money for the club. But I didn't really know how to get out of this. And I was like, I was so unhappy. And I said, well, I need to be there because they have childcare for the kids. They have kids camp and they have all these perks that allow me to be where I am. But inside, it was really not where I wanted to be anymore. All I wanted to do was teach Pilates and feel Pilates and be with Pilates and be away from the rigidity of a club management. It really sits in your gut and you're like, oh my God, it's almost like a pain in your stomach.
Yeah. I always say that it is like I know I'm meant for more, but I don't know what more looks like.
Yes. More is great start.
Even the
More,
desire,
yeah,
even the,
just
the feeling that, yeah, I want more. I
I
want
want
more.
more.
And another thing that you said, getting curious. For me, curiosity, and I was talking to my husband yesterday because I was giving him this example. My husband is a lawyer. So my husband sees things very different than me. Yes, I am a coach and I write books and all of the above, but I am an artist. I love to paint. I love to do sculpting. So I use my other side of the brain. So I give this example to my husband. I'm like, if somebody comes to you and tell you there was a black car, you take that fact and you said it was a black car. If somebody comes to me and tell me there was a black car, I go, but it was matte, it was shiny. Did it have the little sparkles? Like it was like a really deep black. Like I am curious to know more, to learn more. And that had made my life more exciting, but it also had made it fuller because I don't sit with what life gives me. I am curious to know what else is there for me, what possibilities are there for me. And I think you did the same thing. So you start exploring, right? What was there available for you that you can create a life that would feel fulfilled, but also allow you to be with with.
And make enough money to do the things we wanted to do and enjoy what I was doing instead of feeling trapped in that job that I had to have. And everybody said, wow, look at you. You're managing this and you have all these teachers underneath you and you're doing all these training classes and whatnot. And deep down, I was just not happy. And you said there is more. And I think a lot of women feel that they know there is more, but they're scared to explore the more because what will be on the other side of that more?
What am I trading?
Yeah.
Right? What am I trading? Maybe the more is bad or is ugly or is scary or I'm not capable, I'm not worthy or I'm not enough and all of the above. So I better just stay here in the mediocrity of my life than wanting more just so I know what that more looks like.
Isn't it funny though that the first things that come to our mind are negative things about
I know,
more?
I know, I know. But in everything,
Yes.
everything. Last night I was talking to my daughter. My ex-husband passed away 5 years ago, and she was having a memory of her dad, and it was a sad memory. And my youngest one really hasn't dealt with her grief. She has a different personality. She's very reserved, so she was always very like together, right? And she was crying and she was sharing with me, and I said, "But you had 2 years with memories of your dad, and you're just thinking about that sad one. Your dad had so many wonderful moments with you. And in a way, I think that we have to train our brain to go to that bright side all the time because we go there. We go to the sad, we go to the ugly, we go to the challenge thing, we go to the negative thing. We do that every single day. I believe that we can choose our feelings every day. We can wake up in the morning and choose them.
Absolutely. And the choices we make dictate the way we live our life. And which comes with that part of curiosity that I also write in my book about, the curiosity to explore, to not feel that you're less than, but that you can reach out and that you have the capacity. So what is the worst thing that happens? It doesn't work out, but at least you tried something new. You explored something new that may just be amazing, and you don't know because you didn't try it out because you want to stay in that negative field. And also, I've nixed out all negative people in my life.
Oh, that's
Everybody,
true. We gotta shed. We gotta
all
shed
gone.
what it doesn't add. And I think that that happened after 50. I mean, I'm 59. So that happened after 50, I stopped caring. You don't like me? Too bad. Too sad. It's okay. I can live without you. I'm not even gonna ponder about it, okay? I'm just gonna keep on moving.
Of that.
For the people that are going through a midlife crisis and for the young people that are listening to us, explain to me that spark framework that you come up with and that has helped you create this movement that you have along with your book.
Yeah. I don't like the word midlife crisis. I bet a man came up with that term
For sure.
because it is not a crisis. It's a transition.
True.
It's something we travel through. We travel through being in our 20s. We don't know what to do. We go to our 30s. We may become moms. Like in our cases, we were young moms. So then you have another hat. But then the kids start to go to college. So you're an empty nester. So you wear another hat. Then you go through all the symptoms of menopause, which some have hard time to pass and others not so much, but it's a transition. Then you transition into the next phase, becoming a grandparent and so forth. So rather than thinking of a crisis, because a crisis is something that bad, it's bad, let's move on from there. We don't need that in our lives because it's not a crisis. In my point of view, it's a transition. And so when I talk about pursue your spark, I came up with a SPARK framework. And the SPARK framework starts out with S. And I like to look at it this way. We scan our lives. We see what's there. What do we have? Which is also, you can look at it as the why. What is my why? But I like scanning. I'm like checking stuff out, taking stock of what is there, what is not. And then we say, okay, this is what I have. I have new ideas, maybe, or I want to check out some other activities or get a new job. And then you go into the P, the spark of the spark is the planning. But it's more like a pre-planning phase. Because all the ideas that come to our mind, or none for some, may
Right.
be just too much, or it's really stressful to think of, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Or how am I going to transition? What's the next step for me? So we have an initial plan. And so we run with that initial plan, and then we take action on that initial plan because we don't know how this plan's going to work out. Is it
Right.
going to be exactly what we thought, or is it somebody else's idea, or is it exactly what we wanted? And then there's the R. There are roadblocks. Nothing ever goes smooth. You
No.
may not have the right running shoes. You may not have the thing you want to do is far away from you, or whatever it is, or you don't like vegetables. I mean, the roadblock can be anything in your life, or you're just scary, or you're just scared. I want to say you're scared of things. That's a roadblock too. Or you feel
Right.
guilty. That's another big roadblock. So
Time, or you're
now,
afraid of success, which incredibly common when I work
yes.
with women and they are like, I'm fine where I am. And then we find out that the problem is they're afraid of success because success translates to them into I'm going to lose my friends, so my family is going to change, or money is going to change my husband, or my kids are going to be super entitled, or whatever it is success for them. So also success is not always a negative thing. It could be a positive thing that is scary.
Yeah, and I love it that you just said, I'm fine, because I just actually talked about this today about the I'm fine syndrome,
Yeah.
where you're stuck in mediocrity
I,
or
I have enough. I have enough. Well,
but
when
it can,
enough is not enough, that's when you go to the spark.
and I was like, now you've explored all this, you overcame maybe just that one roadblock, and then there's probably another roadblock, but you now take forward the ideas that you created for the path that you've created through the spark method. And when you think back and you keep going forward, and a lot of women feel that suddenly they get stuck again. I'm on this hamster wheel, nothing changes. Well, guess what? You grab your book, you go back to where you're stuck. It could be
Mm-hmm.
the initial S, the scanning. Maybe you scanned something completely wrong, or
Mm-hmm.
you didn't really take action like you said you would,
Right.
or had a wrong action plan. So you're going back through the book and say, okay, I don't have to start all over, because we never start all over from the beginning. We always have learned something. So go back, open up the index and say, I'm at R, I'm at a roadblock. And just
Mm-hmm.
recently, when I had my book launch, one of the participants that came, the guests that came to my book launch said, Heike, I just lost my job. What's in your book to help me? And I said, go to the R. Read the
Mm-hmm.
stories, read through my tips and strategies, read through my story and that of the people that I've worked with, the women I worked with, and
Mm-hmm.
then work through your own problem as it may relate to how you may be approaching people, how you present yourself at your interviews, how you feel about yourself
Yeah,
when you,
or maybe it's not what they really want because oftentimes we hear the noise outside and we take that as data.
yeah,
And then that data becomes a fact. Somebody told you you are a good organizer and suddenly you said, "Oh, you know what? This is what I want to do in my life because I'm a good organizer or I'm a leader or I am a artistic or I am whatever." And we accept those roles that maybe don't belong to us.
yeah.
So again, get curious to see if when you are scanning or when you are being aware of your possibilities, to see if this is being guided by your inner voice or the outside voice. And sometimes
Yeah.
it's just that. You gotta make a U-turn and go back to the S
Mhm.
and figure it out that maybe what you were choosing is not what is meant for you.
Yep. And in that case, with that friend, actually friend of mine who raised that question, in her job, she's been in her job in US 8 for a long, long time, and she's
Mhm.
always passionate about it. And I said, maybe it's time now to step out of this situation because you're forced out of it and really open up and be more curious. What else do you like to do? I'm sure it's not the only thing that you like to do,
And how exciting to be in that place. You have a
right?
blank canvas in front of you. Now you get to choose. When I get a client that is going through a divorce and says, what am I going to do? And they are in the fear. I said, for me, fear is face everything and rise. So now we're going to face everything and then you're going to rise because you have a blank canvas. Now you get to choose. You don't have to do anything. You get to do what you want. And being in that place is a blessing. So instead of seeing the negative consequence of the decision that you make of not being with your husband anymore, see this as an opportunity for you to make different choices. How amazing is that?
And I think we both feel very much the same way. People don't see that they can choose.
Mm-hmm.
It's not somebody tells you what to do. You choose. And
Exactly.
when you say we're not talking about fitness today, but we talk about nutrition, when you choose to eat something that is not healthy for you, you chose that.
Yeah.
Don't turn around and say, oh, I ate this tub of ice cream and the ice cream made me eat it. And now I feel terrible. You choose.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
And
gonna keep
only
in my daughter's phone, my other daughter's phone, the Uber Eats all day long because, Mom, I don't have a choice. I'm tired when I come back from work. I'm like, yeah, you do have a choice because you can prep meals on Saturday. So when you get home, you have something healthy. So it's
Yep.
a choice that you're making.
Yep. Choices are so important, and really choosing is such a joy, is such a moment of, you talk about fulfillment.
Yeah, it's empowering.
It's empowering. I'm just like you, we want to teach women that there is a way to empower yourself, and it doesn't have to be big, audacious goals or amazing.
Or you don't have
Try,
to have a humongous budget because you're proof of that, and I'm proof of that too. I mean, I was a single mom with three kids under five living in a one-bedroom apartment. So if I was able to do it, there is no reason why you are not able to do it. You just
yeah.
have to really sit with yourself, see what you want to do, not so much pay attention to the circumstances, but the possibilities that you have in front of you and pick. And if that one didn't work, then you go back. God allows you turns. You go back and you go to the next one and then you go to the next one until you find one that really fits your life, your lifestyle, your kid's schedule, and is giving you peace of mind. I mean, you have to see what are your non-negotiables. It's so important. And one thing I love about your book is that you have action, how you say, actional
Action
steps.
steps.
Yes. So you can go there and check, 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 check. You didn't get the result that you wanted, you go back to the drawing board and you try again. Maybe a little tweak here and there, maybe something different, but you're having these steps that you have to follow to achieve your goal. I mean,
Yeah.
what else do you want, right?
I know, but we hear it all the time. It's too much. It's too overwhelming. And that's why I simplified everything in Pursue Your Spark. I'm like, keep it simple. Don't make it about you, not about your friend, not about your neighbor. It's all about you. What is it that you really want? And that's so hard for them to dig around and be honest with yourself.
Yeah. But you said something that is very true. Sometimes we feel overwhelmed and sometimes we feel exhausted. So, what would you say is the root of chronic exhaustion?
Not setting boundaries, boundaries with yourself and boundaries with others. And this is another big hurdle that we all are climbing or dealing with, is the boundaries with ourselves that that everybody hears, just say no. We've heard it all before, but it's sometimes as simple, but sometimes it's not as simple. If we don't know what we want, we're not sure what boundaries we're setting.
That's true.
And one of the one time my son was visiting with with our grandchildren here in Maryland, and they were doing their thing, we were doing our thing, and we went to a party that night, and they had other plans, and then we come home from that party, my husband and I, and he corners me in the kitchen and he says, "You didn't make any plans for us tomorrow, so now we have to do this." And I said, "What? What? You just want to go to this party and don't think about us." And I was dumbfounded. And I
Right.
stepped back and I said, "Listen, you're here visiting. You have plans with other people. I don't say, 'Hey, you're going to so and so. What about us?' But suddenly you turn it around on me and saying, 'Well, you're not planning stuff for us, so we have to do these things.'" And I said, "Listen, we have to talk about this. We have to have a communication. I had to really push back and say, I'm not guilty. It's not my fault. I
I don't
didn't do.
receive what you're giving me.
Yes.
That is so important to not receive. Even when you don't know what you said before, sometimes we tell people all the time, I'm sure you tell your clients too, when you say yes to them, you're saying no to you. And sometimes we do that because of trauma response, we're people pleasers, or because we don't know what we want. But it's as important not receiving those gifts that we don't want. And that goes with blame, making you responsible for somebody else's happiness. Those are not your gifts. If somebody comes to you and try to give you that just so they don't have to deal with that, that's another opportunity for you to set that boundary and say, you know what, I'm sorry. You're feeling this way. I can understand. I see why, but I don't want your gift.
Yep. And I said to him in the response, I said, listen, I'm glad we're having this conversation, but I don't feel good about being cornered after coming back from a party at 10 o'clock at night, and that you're cornering me with this instead of having an open conversation about something that makes you unhappy or expectations that are not met. And so I had to protect myself, but also said to him, hey, here, you need to respect me.
Right.
And let's have a different conversation. And we did talk about it for a while. And I said, also what comes with all of this is clarity. Conversations that bring clarity. One person may say this thing and the other person totally understands something completely different.
Oftentimes that's what happened. And I go to my girls and I say, what did you hear me say? And sometimes they get annoyed because their mom don't coach me. I'm like, I'm not coaching you, but I want to make sure that you're receiving what I'm saying from my perspective, not the perspective that you having in this moment because you had a bad morning and you're just being defensive or you're being impatient with me. So it's always important when we communicate, absolutely, to make sure that the other person is hearing what we're trying to express. And I'm sure that that is also in your book when you talk about traps, right?
Yeah.
What other traps you see women getting into?
Perfectionism is so big. Oh my goodness. If I don't do anything perfectly right and well the first time, I'm bad at it. So we're talking about the perfectionism, which is, I keep hearing this over and over, and I'm like, why does it have to be perfect? Who taught us that we need to be perfect? Is it our mothers, our grandmothers, and our people before them? Or do we assume because we are women, we need to be perfect and be perfectly groomed, perfectly doing our jobs, perfectly make sandwiches for our children?
The good girl syndrome.
Yep.
You want to be the good girl because in our brain, and that is generational, as the download, that conditioning that we receive, if you're a good girl, you're worthy of being loved. So we grow up with that domestication to believe that that's what we're supposed to be or do in order to be loved and accepted. But who created that? You're absolutely right. I mean, why are you not going to get, again, curious and figure out what works for you and what means to be a good girl? I have a speech when I go and speak in places, I talk about different subjects. And one of the subjects is, I was never the good girl my mom wanted me to be. That doesn't mean I wasn't a good girl. I just wasn't the good girl she wanted me to be. And that's a big difference.
What does it even mean to be a good girl?
Exactly. Exactly. What it means for her doesn't have to mean that for me.
What does it mean? My daughter-in-law says this to our granddaughter. She says, you've been a good girl, Lila. And I looked at her one day and I said, what does that mean? Does it mean she ate her lunch? Does it mean she picked up her clothes?
She's complacent. She's quiet. She doesn't make noise. She's not a squeaky wheel. She does what she's told. Unfortunately, we live in a patriarchy world. And if we don't teach our daughters to use their voice, they are going to grow up to be moms that are going to tell their daughters to be a good girl.
Yeah. Because you never said this to a boy.
No.
Never.
No. And I often bring the example of the ballroom. I walked into a ballroom once and I was sitting there with a bunch of other guys and a woman came late and she gave 3 reasons why she was late. I'm so sorry, my housekeeper didn't come and then I have to go this and I'm looking at her, I'm watching her and I'm registering all this situation in front of me. And then later than her, a guy walked in. He just said hello and sit down. He didn't say why he was late. He didn't care that he was late. And if he cared, he didn't show that he cared. But we are wired to apologize.
What is that? We
think
just
it's generational.
Can we just drop this? Because I'm teaching my daughter, hopefully well, she's now 34 and
Mm-hmm.
she's still single, to not be that way. And she's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes pretty feisty when it comes to things. But
Yeah,
it's like she stands up for what she believes in. And she says, too, no, I'm not doing this. I don't want to do this.
good for her.
And it takes me aback sometimes because that's not how I was raised, right? But she is
Mm-hmm.
exactly what we're talking about. I don't have to be perfect. I can be who I am. I'm not rude, but I am not compliant.
Exactly. You know what? My middle daughter is married, and we went to a wedding a couple of weeks ago, and another lady was sitting down to me, and I'm sure that happens to you too. I do free coaching everywhere, right? Because everybody's gonna come in. I have a question for you. So this lady was talking to me, and it was talking about her daughter, and my daughter was in between us, sitting between us, and we were talking about boundaries. And I said, one time I went to my daughter's house, and I have my kids' passwords. I have the codes of their doors. They give it to me. It's not that I'm like, you gotta give it to me. No, they give it to me. So I was with my best friend. We were very close to her house, and I just showed up in her house. And then when I left, she called me and she goes, Mom, the next time you come, I want you to let me know this is my home. And I said, okay, I got it. Sorry. I mean, I didn't mean to do that. And like you at the moment, but then I thought about it and I'm like, you know what? Good for you. Good for you for setting that boundary. And this lady was sitting next to me and she goes, well, but how did you feel that she said? Because you know, you're the mom and whatever, right? And her other daughter was sitting there and she goes, oh, my mom would throw a fit. And I'm like, because we are wired to think that because we are the mom, we have the right to do whatever. And if you're a girl, you're supposed to do A, B, and C because you're a girl. But those are patterns from the 1600 that we are carrying to this time.
Yeah.
We can break it. It can stop with us. And we can teach our daughters to set the boundaries, even if they have to set boundaries with us. Because
Yep.
that is empowering. I
Yep.
said to them, you might make decisions that I don't like, and that's okay. Because as long as you're making those decisions and you can look at yourself in the mirror and you like yourself and you respect yourself, then go for it. I don't have to like everything.
Exactly. And that's a good point. We don't have to like everything. It's okay. And it's also good for us to learn from them, I always feel.
Yeah. And I love that you are writing that you wrote that book because you're catering to a generation like you and like me that had that conditioning. And that's why we have that overwhelming feeling because we were never really able to be ourselves. We were never able to say no. Why? I don't have to give you an explanation. No is a complete sentence. I don't want it. End of the story. We didn't have that opportunity. So that's why women need your book to figure out what they want to do. And this is what I said at the beginning of the show. If you're a young girl, listen because you're going to get some tools here that are going to serve you so you don't have to be in the place that I am. I'm 59 and you're 64?
Yeah.
Yes. We are in this place because we were not taught that we had a voice. We accepted whatever our lineage taught us and we didn't question. And I'm sure like me, you were older when you start asking questions, when you start figuring out who you really are, what you really like. I always make a joke that when I got divorced, I didn't know how I liked my ex. I didn't know because I would emulate whoever was next to me. If my husband liked them scrambled, then I like them scrambled too, because a good girl doesn't make noise. She's not a squeaky wheel. So I had to sit down with 5 different type of eggs and see which one Claudia likes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want it. I never wanted my daughters to wait until they were past their 30s to figure out how they like their eggs.
Yeah, it's true that you have choices, that you have a choice, and your choice is honored too. Nobody is saying bad things about you because you chose.
Most
They
of
may
the
not.
people don't care what you choose, actually. They think they
Exactly.
care. The
They
people
don't care. They're
don't.
like, well, when people then look at us because of the choice, whatever the choice is, in your case, it was eggs, they may look at us and look interested, but I think what they're thinking is, maybe I should have gotten the egg scrambled too. I didn't think about that.
I like poached eggs and I like eggs in my cake, but that's the whole different story. But I started to eat the eggs how I like it when I was over 30. How sad is that?
It's circumstantial. It's not sad, Claudia. It's circumstantial because we didn't know better.
Exactly.
We didn't know we could choose. We didn't know that there was light at the other side of the tunnel. And that's
Mhm.
also one of the reasons why I left Germany is I wanted to be away from this constantly everybody looking into my life, controlling what I was doing, remarking on how I would do things or not do things, and
Mhm.
expect me to visit when they wanted me to visit, not because I wanted to come, but they wanted me to come. And
Mhm.
I felt so smothered. And from a young age, I wanted to always leave. I wanted to explore. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to go see other cultures, learn different languages, do all kinds of different things. And I felt I wasn't allowed to do that where I was living at that time. So to me, moving away was a way of getting away from this umbrella that was so claustrophobic and suppressing what I wanted because
Yeah.
I'm supposed to stay where I was and hopefully marry a boy over there and then hopefully have grandchildren over there. And none of this happened. And I couldn't be happier because once I got divorced and I had all my finances figured out and I met my second husband, now I have enough income that we can travel. I
Right.
don't have to worry about every penny anymore. And now we can do the things that I stopped in my mom adventure with my
Mm.
children, and which was super lovely because we did so many wonderful things together. But now it's time for me again.
And you pursued your spark. That's
Yep.
exactly what you did. You
Yep.
went after what was bringing joy back to your life. And
Yeah.
sometimes we need to give ourselves permission to do that. We have to
That's
really stop in our tracks and say, I'm not happy. I need to make a change. I don't know what's in the other side of fear, but I am going to go anywhere. Because the worst thing that could happen is me staying where I am right now and 10 or 20 more years go by.
And then what?
And what?
You're at the same junction. Think of those women that have stayed in marriages for 50, 60 years and then suddenly
Unhappy.
and
Yeah.
just kind of going through the motions. And yes, it's nice to have a companion, but if you have nothing in common anymore, and yes, I get it, older women have not had a job back in the days and they gave up their jobs and they were housewives and they lost their footage in the career. But there's still other things you can do to go out and connect with other people and not be stuck like this in a life that doesn't serve you anymore.
And a life that doesn't belong to you. Because when you belong, and this is why my show is called Don't Shrink to Fit, because
Right.
when you have to change yourself to fit, you're not belonging. So when your environment is tight, when you don't feel that your life is in flow, you're fitting in. So if anything, if you're listening to this right now, this is your wake up call. This is your permission slip to get curious. Go get the book, start doing the steps right there, pursue your spark,
Your spark.
and start creating the life that you want. I think we all came here to be happy. We didn't come to this world to suffer. Yes, there is suffering. Yes, there are circumstances. I know, and you know. But we still can come out the other side with joy and with happiness, which is not the same, by the way, and and with peace and neutrality and harmony and a life that is worth living. You don't have to exist. So I want to thank you so much, Heike, for being here. If you would have told me that your name was German, I would have been able to pronounce it because I went to German school when I was a kid with nuns. So I would have been like, oh, I know German. I know how to say
I'm
it.
sometimes just curious. I'm like, let's wait what they say.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. I love it. And I love it that, that also your name got me curious because when you email me, and that's something I want to share. It takes courage to reach out, to ask questions, to try new things. And when you email me, I got curious. And that's where we're having this conversation. You never know what is going to come up. So I want to encourage everyone to register. In the description of the show, I have a link for my newsletter. I talk about the episode a little more. I share more about the things that we talk off camera. And I'm going to have the link for your book. So is there anything you would like to
I would say stop dimming your light and pursue your spark is my thing.
I love that. And with that, we're going to say goodbye, and I will see you guys the next time. Bye-bye. Thank you all for listening to the Don't Shrink to Fit podcast. If you like this episode, please write a juicy comment below and subscribe to my podcast. Remember, we can only fly if we embrace each other. Until next week, be happy, be safe, and be kind to yourself.